Great, thank you so much, Vanessa, and delighted to be here and just really to talk about, in a very short space of time, how much we're doing at UBS. And so while my colleague Emma has really talked about what we're doing internally, this is the work that we're doing externally with our clients. So if you could move on to the next slide, please. This is a topic that we've been focusing on really since January 2017, that followed a piece of research, global research in 2014, that showed that of women investing, that showed that they felt that their financial advisors didn't understand them or care about them. So after 3 years of researching our own female clients, we launched a formal approach, which has been a very research and content-led approach. So I'm just going to give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour through where we are. And this is really the context for why this is so significant. We know that female owned wealth is outpacing male wealth in relative growth terms, that women really are becoming a sizable economic force, and that by 2025, 35% of the total global personal investable wealth will be in women's hands. So this is not only important commercially for wealth managers, but it's also critical because we know that women have a different approach when it comes to investing when compared to men. So if you move on to the next slide, please. This is just the picture globally, which I won't go into, but you can see here this growth of women's wealth and how it's growing faster than men's. And you can see Western Europe there, the 4.9% of female growth that we're expecting. And on to the next slide, please. So one of the real challenges, and this is a piece of research that we published in 2019, global research, looked at how women aren't involved in long-term financial planning. Although we can see that the women who do participate in long-term financial decisions with their spouses not only increase their chances of financial security, but they feel more positive about the future. And we know that 9 out of 10 women who make joint decisions really do feel less anxious, more confident about their financial security. So, and then they feel more prepared to manage their finances if something were to happen to their spouses. And on to the next slide, you will see that there are 4 main reasons why women aren't involved. And these can be summarized by the following sort of overarching themes: that women don't get involved in finances due to a lack of confidence, and due to entrenched roles within their relationships, complacency, if you click on that one will pop up, and really just to keep the peace in their relationships. So having a lack of confidence could be expressed as believing that it's too stressful, that you have no idea where to begin, or that you're scared of making a mistake. But in our most recent research, about 2/3 of women told us that they think their spouse knows more. And in our 2018 research, about twice as many married men told us that they felt confident in making more confident making financial decisions than their female counterparts. Complacency could also simply be not being interested or preferring not to have to deal with it. This is not just a phenomenon among women in couples, but in our research with single women, many told us that they prioritize many other aspects of their lives over their finances. And this whole area of keeping the peace and avoiding arguments over money as a reason for not being involved also is a key reason. So moving on, this is really the fact. I mean, women do have to manage finances at some point on their own in their lives. So we know that women are living on average 5 years longer than men. Nearly half of marriages are likely to end in divorce. So 80% of women end up solely responsible for their finances in their lives. If you just click on that will come up. And that's actually 80% of women ending up solely responsible for their finances is for a decade or longer in their lives. So moving on quickly, please. Financial knowledge, so important. It really does enable women to avoid financial surprises, to walk away from a bad relationship, and be prepared if something happens to their spouses. And on to the next slide, you'll see this is a bit of advice from women who've been there. So when their marriages actually do end, with the wisdom of hindsight, you can see that 76% of widows and divorcees wish they'd been more involved in long-term financial decisions while they were married. And nearly 8 in 10 urge other women to take a much more active role. And I think what's important here is that we have to change within the wealth management industry and more broadly across financial services, the way that we talk about finances with women. And I think this has been a key part of our approach at UBS. So on to the next slide, please. Here are some statistics about millennial women. And this is often particularly surprising. 54% of married millennial women defer to their spouses. So just to touch on this briefly, our study spoke to these millennial women who said they hope to get married one day. These are single women. 88% are committed to participating equally in planning long-term finances once they're married. But often they don't follow through. So there's a difference, a 34% difference in between intent and action for millennial women. So, this is challenging and is a consistent message across our findings, across all our findings. The pandemic has, while it's been challenging, this is some research that we undertook in the US. It's very much reinforced traditional gender roles, perhaps as a result of all the unknowns during this time, perhaps due to the stress and competing priorities and burdens placed on each and every one of us. But if there's any positive news to come out of this situation, it's that we heard consistently that the pandemic has inspired action among women, and women are thinking more about focusing on their finances and their family more than ever before. So that's good news. And it's 82% of women stated that they want to protect themselves and their family more, 63% that the pandemic has changed how they think about money. So just a quick on to the next slide, please. Bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I wanted to share this research, which really shows what makes women's wealth journey different to a man's. So obviously, they face different factors within their lives, the gender pay gap, taking time out to have children or look after family members, and greater need to work flexibly, the fact that they outlive their spouses, and they have a different approach when it comes to investing to men. So on to the next slide, you can actually see what those are there, and this is a published research externally, which you can look at. But on the next slide, you can see the cumulative effect of those 5 different factors. So the gender wealth gap at the end of a woman's life, Jane, our character here, compared to Joe. And I think what's really important here is that women really do need to take control of their investing at an early stage. So the green piece is the risk tolerance, how women need to really build their financial confidence. So a big part of our program has been focusing on that. And on to the next slide, you'll see this is our most recent research that we published this year on International Women's Day, which really talks about these different factors. And this is a bit of myth busting, I believe. Women have been often described as being risk averse as a category or a segment, but I don't believe that. I think it's about they're very much risk aware, not risk averse, so they're calculated risk takers, and this is all very much about how we are advising them. So on to the next slide, please. These are just some key differences that you can see about planning. Women like to plan for life stages. They like to be organized. They like holistic, trusted advice. They lack financial confidence, but this is something that can be supported by their wealth manager. They're risk aware, not risk averse. They're more deliberate and fact-based in their investment choices, and they're more likely to factor ESG concerns into their decisions. So on to the next slide, you can just see what we're doing in a more structured way at UBS, which is really to create a focus around key topics and events, social media activities. So really making a noise about different topics to drive financial services industry change, as well as talk about what we're doing at UBS. And why this is so important. We're also training our client advisors. So we've had a program now for 4 years to really support them with unlocking conversations with female clients. And we publish, as I said, this regular thought leadership. And research. It's all available on ubs.com/women. And just really to wrap up, conscious of time, here's some of that research that you can see. And we've published also online is a financial confidence self-assessment. And you can access that there, ubs.com/financial-confidence. I urge everybody to do that. It gives you some really good advice about which stage you're at in your financial journey, and particularly for those who are struggling to get over that first hurdle when it comes to investing, really the direction that you need to take. Here's all our research, as you can see, our events, videos, etc., all available on our website. And of course, I'm here if anybody would like any more information.
Thank you so much, Emma. And I really do think it's an important topic, and maybe one for you guys to consider for your 2023 planning, because often, to Emma's point, often financial planning and stuff, it's not something we think about unless we have to. We're often, I can allude to a number of things you saying, oh, I'll let my husband deal with it, but it's really actually important. So do think about that. And obviously Emma's kindly offered to give us some advice. It's great to see what you're doing over at UBS. That's absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much for joining us.